Hello, party people. So, today, of course, is Remembrance Day, November the 11th, and today I decided I would do a war movie. I tried to find something fairly anti-war, or sorry, that wasn't completely anti-war. Ended up with something that was a little anti-war, but I think acceptably enough in terms of showing that duty matters. And I'm just being quiet for a moment to see how much noise the construction crew outside is making compared to what I'm doing quietly. So it looks like we're good. Yeah, we'll dispense with the cover image for now. And, well, of course, we still have the cover image, but yeah, the film is called Journey's End, 2017. There's an amazing cast in this and amazing performances, which also generally tells you that it was amazingly well written. The expectation I had going into this was that it would be very much in the vein of look at how horrible this war is, look at how terrible these men are being treated, things like that. There's very little of that. It's generally just a human story, and yeah, it's. I mean, there's not really a lot else to say about it. So it opens. Now, I will point out when I first started playing the film, for some reason my cursor is doing strange things. Okay, we will leave you just down here out of the way. Actually, no, we'll put you up here out of the way, where you belong. Without hitting any other buttons. There we go. So, I did make a mistake when I first started watching the film. Normally, I would watch a film with the same headset on that I use for game streaming. The mistake I made was starting the film before I turned on the headset. And because of that, I was under the impression that the film was silent until just after this. Until just after this screen you see here. Not so much. When I realized something funny was going on, I had to rewrite my first note. But my first note for this screen was opening in absolute pending silence gives you a sense of imminence, of something that might be about to happen. It's actually a great way to immediately immerse the audience in the emotional tone you want to set, and I did say that I thought it was well crafted. I still think it's well crafted. Just 1 second, I have to turn my phone off. It's making noises. Which normally it doesn't do at this hour. Apparently the sound was muted. The soundtrack does have a very foreboding quality about it, though. It does give you the sense of something. It still gives you a very strong sense of imminence and foreboding. So, same emotional tone, set slightly differently. Anyway, I'll read this to you rather quickly just to give you a context for what exactly was happening. Spring 1918. World War I is in its fourth year, and there's stalemate in the trenches of northern France. Rumors are rife amongst the British ranks of an imminent German offensive to break the deadlock. Each company of soldiers is required to spend 6 days of every month on the front line. No one knows which men will be there when the attack comes. And that sort of tension is carried through very much most of the film. The first hour, which is roughly the first half of the film, is all prelude to the attack, and wow. You really do get a very powerful emotional investment in this. Ironically, the sound continues to be a major part of the experience of this film. The first sound heard upon entering the trench is the very wet sound of mud squelching under his feet. And it immediately brought to mind things like trench foot and, yeah. Hoping the construction crew didn't make noise and someone walks around on top of my head. It is what it is. Oops, there we are. The film does a great job of showing how very And this is very much as they're entering the trench, as they're kind of taking up their position and relieving another, I believe it was company. It does a great job of showing how dark and claustrophobic the nature of trench warfare is, and that's even before they lose the electric lights. Everything is lit with electricity in the beginning, in the very opening. But because things are being pulled back and resources are being redirected, those lights are gone inside the first 5-10 minutes of the film, and everything is then lit by flame, a candle or a lamp. It's one of those really interesting little historical facts. One thing I will say, this film is very, very good with historical accuracy, except for one point. And that's why it gets the ranking it does, and out of 10, and we'll get to that. So, Asa Butterfield is basically the enthusiastic newcomer, the gung-ho, to use an anachronistic term for this point, but the gung-ho recruit who is, as they say in the film very often, keen. This is just after he's lit off a green flare, basically means situation normal. The red, of course, which we do see later, is an alert or an alarm. So these two images here, I believe, are just to illustrate, and Butterfield does an amazing job. It shows the enthusiasm he has. He even makes little daka-daka noises while he's holding the Lewis gun in the trench, and smiles, and he's quite bright-eyed. That goes away. Henry Cavill is amazing in this film. Where are we here? Yeah, honestly, the entire cast is amazing. I don't think there was anyone who spoke that I didn't recognize or couldn't name. Sorry, I should rephrase that. That I didn't recognize, if I wasn't able to name them, I certainly recognized them. And some of my favorite actors are in this. Excuse me. Paul Bettany talks about how he's sick of waiting for the attack for some action, sort of. It's more the case of, I'd rather have this over with. Let me see. Yeah, there are a few things worse than waiting for a hammer to fall. Is how I put it, or waiting for the sword of Damocles to fall on you, something of that nature. That sort of foreboding. Over and over, I wrote down well written, well performed. I forget who played Hibbert. I forget his name. I know he did play the Sandman. When I finish the review, I'll come to the cast and then talk trivia and things like that, as I usually do. But this fellow's a bit of a coward at the beginning, and you're kind of left with a question of, okay, is he actually being a coward, or is he actually suffering and toughing it out anyway? Like, it's kind of a hard thing to suss out. And it doesn't need to be answered, because what he does at the end is what's important. What you do in the end is what's most important. And he does fulfill his duty. Okay, I'm already on to the second page, which I'm not usually doing. The contrast between the way the officers, like the higher officers, the elite, and the grunts in the trenches, and the officers that serve with them in the trenches, the difference in their conditions is hard to believe, but with everything else being so very historically accurate, I think it's probably true. Wow. It's something else. The first wide shot of the trenches. This is when things, in terms of action, like if you're looking for an action movie, this isn't your film. If you're looking for a good war drama, oh yeah, definitely this. But this is one of the first, this might be the first, it's definitely the first one I noticed or was made cognizant of. Wide shot showing what the landscape actually looked like around these trenches. And, wow, I mean, if this is what it actually looked like, there's a reason they called it no man's land in between the trenches. What did I say here? The first shot of the trenches, or the first wide shot of the trenches, is almost an hour in. Extremely claustrophobic, and they did maintain that claustrophobia since. It's very rare that you see the sky in this film, or more than a slice of the sky. Osborne's, yeah, this is Paul Bettany's character. His letter is poignant and romantic without being romanticized. That speaks to the whole film, really. Romantic but not romanticized. Especially after the old French term, which talks about a work of gallant literature. And I did actually go and take a screenshot of a quick AI search for the etymology of the term romance or romantic. So this is what that is. The word romantic originates from the late Latin term romanici. Actually, that may be romanici. I'm not sure how to pronounce ancient Latin, or late Latin, sorry. Meaning in the Roman manner or in a Romance language. And this evolved from Romanicus, which itself derived from Romanus, meaning Roman. The term was initially used to describe the vernacular languages of Western Europe that developed from Latin, such as French, Spanish, Italian, collectively known as Romance languages. In Old French, the word romance referred both to the language and to literary works composed in it. So if you were talking about something romantic, you were talking about something in the Roman style back then. Particularly narrative poems about chivalry and adventure, so, duty, honor, things of that nature. These tales, known as chivalric romance, often featured the themes of love, heroism, and quests. And heroism in that romantic vein is definitely what this is. In this film really speaks to me anyway. The meaning of the word romantic gradually shifted from referring to the language and genre of literature to describing qualities associated with these stories. By the 17th century, the term began to be used to describe imagination and inventiveness in storytelling, and by the 18th century, it was applied to scenic beauty and idealized love. The concept of courtly love, popularized by troubadours and writers like Chrétien de Troyes and Andreas Capellanes, played a significant role in shaping this association with love and emotional intensity. The term romantic as an adjective meaning characteristic of a romance, in other words, talking about the literature itself, emerged in the 17th century, and by the 18th century it was used to describe love stories and idealized, passionate relationships. One of the things in this film, too, that's really, really played very well is the relationship between different characters. And that's immediately apparent with Asa Butterfield's initial introduction scene where he goes to speak to his uncle, a general. And there's a bunch of different interplaying relationships here that are all played on. I mean, I won't get into that just yet. But the modern sense of romantic as describing intense idealized love or a love affair developed in the 19th century, particularly during the Romanticism movement, which looked back to the Middle Ages as a golden age of chivalry and emotion. So there's never been a time when people haven't looked back at the good old days and, missed what was. The word Romanticism itself was first used in the early 19th century to describe a literary and artistic movement emphasizing emotion, individualism, and the sublime. Thus, the evolution of romantic reflects a journey from a linguistic and literary classification to a descriptor of emotional and aesthetic ideals centered on love and imagination. There is very much, in the same vein of Sam and Frodo in The Lord of the Rings. And yeah, I'm going to use pop culture references because pop culture is what I know best. But in the same way that Sam and Frodo show a genuine sort of masculine love to each other, that same, actually, pretty much every facet of masculine love appears here. Platonic, friendship, the sense of a mentor, the sense of, a guardian, even a father figure in some ways is shown in this film. This film it's really good. Let's just put it that way. And of course, we've got one hell of a ginger stash on that fella. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, it is Movember, and I should hide my shame. But, Yeah, there are some great mustaches in this film. Henry Cavill's is not one of them, though. And I really wonder, now that I'm thinking about this, how much this film was being shot around the time of Justice League, because it feels like it might be about the same time, which would explain why the Cavill lip occurred. Let's see. Yeah, speaking of, let's see, what number is this? 15. Yeah, there are so many great moments in this film that all I could say about them was, it's a great moment played well. Um, I don't want to spoil this because it is so good. Uh, but there are absolutely poignant, heart touching moments in this film, and it deserves to be watched. Uh, I did like the shots of courage, the shots of rum given to the men before they go on a raid. Uh, this is just before the raid, of course. It's the veteran distracting the keen newcomer from his nervousness, from his anxiety, trying to settle him down so he's not so full of adrenaline. Kind of putting him back on an even keel. It's one of those moments that's really good. And Butterfield and Bettany are great together. Let me see. This is on the way to the raid. You see that, and Butterfield does a great job of portraying, oh shit, I'm so scared here. Yeah, it's really well played. Yeah, so I said fear sets in for this one, and then reality. This is after the raid, immediately after. And he's kind of got that 1,000-yard stare going that people talk about. Cavill doesn't handle the outcome particularly well. This is a great scene between Cavill and Butterfield as well. These are actors absolutely at the top of their game. It's amazing to watch this. Let's see, some of the best acting I've ever seen from Cavill. Yeah. And it just keeps on going. This is just before part of the final scene. What did I put here? Yeah, nerves are setting in as they wait for an attack. I did mention there was one historical thing that I didn't like. It wasn't quite as perfect to historical accuracy as it could have been, and that's the trigger discipline issue. This is Cavill's hand, or ideally, it's Cavill's character's hand. Whether this is a body double or not, I don't know. I suspect it's Cavill, but the shot is cut away from his face, so we don't know. And Butterfield, of course, has terrible trigger discipline as well. Yeah. I had to do a bit of research to find out if trigger discipline was a thing at this point in time for the British Army. It absolutely was. So this is an anachronism that really well-trained soldiers, and the officers should have been very well trained. You wouldn't expect to see that from them. One thing I'll also point out. Oh, hang on. Yes, okay, that's right. Why is that down as 23? I'm not sure. I seem to have put some of these out of order. Sorry. But the trigger discipline issue was something else. Okay, no. Yes, okay. I will point out, too, you saw that Butterfield and Cavill, both, their characters were carrying Webley revolvers. Of course, then we have the morale officer, played by, I believe Stephen Graham is his name. I'll have to confirm that when I get to the cast. But that'll be towards the end here. The morale officer and the cook are even called up to fight. I see what happened here. I did accidentally skip a picture. The cook was played by Toby Jones, and he's just awesome in this film, too. Stephen Graham here. You'll notice that he's not holding a Webley. That's a 1911. Graham was my favorite character in this, Trotter. So yeah, I'm quite happy to see him having the more advanced weapon. There's one point just before this happens where they show a bit of a shot kind of over a shoulder down into the trench. and you realize the Webley has a barrel that looks kind of like this, and then you notice there's a monstrous hole in the barrel of the pistol that Trotter is holding. I just went, "What the hell is he holding?" And yeah, it's kind of a big difference from what I assume was 32 Webley to 45 ACP. 45 ACP kills the soul. I will also point out that when I went to do a quick bit of research on the IMFDB to see what model of 1911 this was, the IMDb didn't have it. They missed it. Sorry, the IMFDB. Yeah, they missed the fact that there was even a 1911 in there. That's one of only 3-4 shots where it's on screen for maybe 3 seconds total. To be fair, I'm still kind of wondering why the IMFDB, which, as far as I know, is an American group, how they managed to miss the only American gun. But such as it is. This is Butterfield after he's been wounded, but he's still trying to get up and still feeling a duty to take part, to serve with the men. And this scene is devastating. But I don't think I'll spoil it, so I'm going to actually remove that next image so you guys don't see it. And, of course, this is Cavill going up the stairs to do his duty. To me, this would have been a great point to end the film on. But they chose to go a little further, and we see him kind of, I guess the best possible term is shell-shocked. And, yeah, the next thing after that is just the Germans entering the trench, and we never know whether that character survived. We don't know what characters survived, to be honest. Not for certain. They do tell us, they confirm certain ones died, but they don't tell us any of them survived. And it's kind of a bit of a horrifying thing to realize when you see this devastation. And I'll just read this to you really quickly. The German attack launched what came to be known as the Spring Offensive. It lasted 3 months, and over 700,000 men on both sides were killed. A month later, the ground was retaken by British and Allied forces. 1 million more were to die before the war ended on November 11th, 1918. It seems like an absolutely horrible waste to have that much death for that little ground. And that's, I mean, it's kind of unavoidable that you have things like that happen during a war. Especially that kind of war that happened in World War I, where it was trench warfare. But, and this is the anti-war message, which not really hammered at you, but it's kind of, you know, you kind of need to acknowledge that we should be anti-war where we can. So, yeah, not bad. And, of course, it ends with the title. Let me see. Yeah, and I did say the final shot is not unlike the opening, though now the soundtrack is, yeah, it's absolutely desolate, is the best way to describe it. It does end with background sound and then music, but the music is similar to the opening, but it is very much desolate sort of sounds. And the audio tying together of this is really, really good. So it's definitely a good touch. So where this battle happened was a place called Saint-Quentin, I think is how it would be pronounced in French. Saint Quentin, which you wouldn't think it, but was very difficult to find because I made the mistake of asking for San Quentin. Yeah, so I ended up with the prison in the States a lot when I was doing vocal search. So I had to stop doing text-to-speech, or speech-to-text, rather, and just type it in. It turns out that there was a planned memorial there. In 1926, the French government raised serious concern at the number of freestanding memorials being proposed by the Imperial War Graves Commission to honor the missing, and among those to be sacrificed would be the one planned for St. Quentin. It's a bit of an unfortunate occurrence, but, I mean, there's only so much space you can really dedicate to something. It was a challenge to create the necessary number of structures to carry the many names of the missing. I don't believe any of these names... Oh, actually, I think Owens might actually have been said during the film. Reproduced here is a 1923 pencil and crayon sketch by Edwin Lutyens of the St. Quentin Memorial, and the similarities are clearly striking between this memorial and what would go on to appear as the memorial to the missing of the Somme at Thiepval. Thiepval? Not sure how to pronounce that. Excuse me. Complete with its complex and distinctive interlocking arches. The drawing of the St. Quentin Memorial held in British Architectural Library in London. The architectural similarities were not lost on Bulletin editor James Brazier when he came across the drawing in the British Architectural Library in London in 1999, and it enabled him to provide another layer of insight into a complex issue. Debate about the freestanding memorials to the missing had come to the fore among the WFA faithful in 1999, this after a letter had been reproduced in the Bulletin that had been sent in 1929 by the IWGC to the father of a Private Archibald Payne, whose service number was 18912, a soldier killed in action on the 1st of July 1916 while serving with the 1st Battalion of the Hampshire Regiment on the Redan Ridge. The 1st of July is also Newfoundland's Memorial Day because of the Battle of Beaumont Hamel. If you're interested in that, I would recommend you look into the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and the reason there are caribou memorial statues in St. John's and in France. The letter said that Private Payne's name had originally been down to be inscribed on the St. Quentin Memorial to the missing, but that his name was now going to be inscribed instead on what was to be known officially as the Thiepval Memorial. I guess this is the Thiepval Memorial that replaced the St. Quentin scheme, clearly forged from the same architectural template. And I'll just go back and we'll see the plan and the execution. And I do have another image of this as well. Putting the content of this letter together with the Lutyens sketch, the evidence was now clear that one of the most striking commemorative landmarks of the war had originally been designed for St. Quentin, albeit with some minor adaptations such as the loss of the domed top depicted on the St. Quentin sketch. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing to discover. So we'll come here to the... I'll skip past that so you don't see too much of the film. We don't want to show the trailer if I can help it. So Paul Bettany played Lieutenant Osborne. Sam Claflin played Captain Stanhope. Oh, my apologies, that wasn't Cavill at all. My deepest apologies. Apparently that was Sam Claflin, and I thought it was Henry Cavill the entire time. Oops. In any case, Claflin is almost a dead ringer for Cavill at a lot of the time you see him on screen. Let's see. Stephen Graham as Trotter. This was my favorite character. Tom Sturridge played the Sandman. He's also Second Lieutenant Hibbert. Alain Lawson as Angèle. I don't remember Angèle. She must be very early in the film or very short in any case. Low... how to put it? She must be briefly appeared. Yeah. Asa Butterfield, Second Lieutenant Raleigh, they refer to him as. Let's see, who else we have here? Private Mason, Toby Jones, the cook. Miles Jupp was in this, though I don't think I recognized him when I saw him. But, yeah, this is a very British cast in a very British movie about very British soldiers. So, definitely worth watching. And we'll go through the trivia really quickly. The film was based on a play by R.C. Sheriff, who had seen firsthand the effect of years of war on his friends and knew the fear and terror of waiting for an impending attack, waiting for his journey's end. The characters in the play are a reflection of the men Sheriff had served with in the 9th Battalion of the East Surrey Regiment. While researching his family history, Sam Claflin, who I made the mistake of thinking was Henry Cavill, and I do apologize to Henry Cavill and Sam Claflin, discovered that his great-great-grandfather was in a battalion posted to the Battle of St. Quentin, the same battle depicted at the end of the film. The film's general release, apart from a few earlier screenings of festivals in 2018, coincides with the centenary of the events shown in the film, which take place toward the end of World War I in March 1918. The play on which this was based premiered in London in 1928 with Olivier in the cast. That's an interesting connection. The 1930 film adaptation was directed by James Whale. It was also made as a film in 1954, so this isn't an original film. It's at least the third adaptation. Stephen Graham and Toby Jones also appear in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which I believe starred Gary Oldman. We'll pop over to that really quick. I believe that starred Gary Oldman. I'm not 100% certain. Mark Strong. I thought Gary Oldman was in that. Cumberbatch, Firth, Tom Hardy. I'm thinking about... Oh, no, there's Gary Oldman right there. Never mind. I was thinking about a different... I thought I might have been thinking about a different Forsyth novel. But here is the T-Valve Memorial as it stands today. Among the crosses, row on row. Though, in this case, they have stones rather than crosses for the most part. Yeah, so... it's one of those... it's Remembrance Day. There's a reason for the poppy. And we should never forget men like this and the things that happened. One of the big things that drive these men, one of their big motivations, is the idea of duty. They have a job to do. This is actually even said in the letter that Paul Bettany's character writes, that they have a job to do. It shouldn't have to be done, but the fact that it has to be done doesn't mean that you don't do it. Or the reason for it never should have happened, but it still has to be done. And that's one of the reasons why I say this is a bit of a romantic movie. In terms of, that chivalric honor, duty, that sort of principle sort of thing being portrayed on screen. For rank, I had to give it 9.75. I'm knocking off a quarter point purely for the trigger discipline. Sorry. Otherwise, it's amazingly well written, amazingly well acted. It's a great movie. So yeah, 9 3/4 out of 10. Right. Do I recommend it? Fuck yeah. For a couple of different reasons. Not only because we should remember what this was like for those men and what we gained out of it. And we absolutely should honor their memories for that. But also because nowadays we're looking at potentially another brother war arising in Europe. Well, really being fought in Europe. And we really don't need to be doing that anymore. As a people, we should be cooperating with each other. We should be worrying more about our own than some global stranger. So yeah, that's kind of where I come down on modern events, current events that are related to this. I do apologize. I cannot believe that I mistook Claflin for Henry Cavill. Looking at this image, I really should have known, but you watch the film and listen, the man's voice is very similar as well. They could be cousins. If not even separated at birth twins. In any case, yeah, Paul Bettany, Claflin, Asa Butterfield. Butterfield did an amazing job as well. The amount of expression that he had, yeah, he definitely did a great job. So other than that, please do the supportive things down below here. Avoid Redbubble for the time being. I do apologize that it's still in the ticker. I forgot. And it's probably still in the description as well. Again, I forgot. But I will be purging Redbubble at some point very soon. If you'd like to support me, the best way to do it, if you don't want to spend any money, is simply sharing, liking, and commenting, following, subscribing. This will be on YouTube and Rumble, after all. Other than that, if you want to support me with a little bit of money, which I would deeply appreciate, you can do that through Ko-Fi. And yeah, the link to both is down below. Let's see, what else have we got going on? I haven't heard from my friend Yiz, so as far as I know, I won't be needed for Discordant Dragons tonight, though I do encourage you to go over and watch that you have a chance to watch it because this will be out very shortly before that. As I recall, she starts her show at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I expect that's about an hour after this will drop. Let me see. Tomorrow, I will probably be doing a game stream over on my Ardent Plays channel on Rumble. I'm working on getting Kick sorted out. I'm thinking I may have to simply suck it up and start a whole new account over there because of the problems I'm having. Other than that, yeah, that's it. So yeah, 9.75 out of 10 for the recommendation, for the ranking. Do I recommend it? I absolutely recommend this, not just for Remembrance Day, but any time. It is probably one of the best acted films I've watched, period. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of those. So yeah, I hope you're having a good Remembrance Day. I hope you continue to have good days. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.